Welcome to Compassionate Care Conversations. My name is Scott Bradley. I'm the owner of Bradley & Son Funeral Home, serving Morris, Union, and Essex counties in New Jersey, and SimpleCremationNJ.com, which serves the whole state of New Jersey. I'm a third-generation funeral director, clinical social worker, and a certified psychoanalyst. My mission here is to speak with people who improve the quality of life of the traumatized, the dying, and their stressed-out caregivers. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce you to Donna Salvati. She's a community relations counselor for the Delaney at the Green in Florham Park, New Jersey. I gotta say, I'm very excited to hear about your role and the organization's ability to provide excellent, independent senior living. So Donna, tell us about yourself and what inspired you to work in the field of healthcare and more specifically senior care.
Well, I started out in advertising, print advertising. The segue to getting into healthcare was I was actually working for a large industrial supply company in their healthcare sector. So I was calling on hospitals. I was calling on some assisted living communities. And I felt, walking through these facilities, it was very different the days that I was calling on the communities, the senior communities, just the feel of going through a hospital and the tone walking through a hospital, very different than walking to these other clients where I would go in and you've got these vibrant seniors walking down the hallway, good morning, and they're in the gym and working out and living their best life. And I was like, I look forward to going to see these accounts. So I was like, I think I might like to work in a place like this. And so I that was a segue for me to want to work in a community. So that's kind of how I got into that. I really have a passion for the senior community. I used to do a little bit of volunteering with hospice to do pet therapy back in 2000. So I've always had a passion and interest in the senior population. So why not make it part of your livelihood?
I'm very curious. I worked in the cardiac transplant program for a year at North Beth Israel. And it was super intense. It was like an adrenaline rush every day, and it was a little overwhelming. So I kind of related to what you just said, and this senior living space is not that. So how is it not that? What makes it not so, I guess, overwhelming? I don't know.
I mean, I had Atlantic, not to say good or bad. I had Atlantic Health as one of my accounts, and you get a call at 8:00 at night. We need supplies and we need them because the state's coming is very different than you're spending the whole morning at a CCRC and you're going to the different shops and we need this and we're polishing up this and we're doing improvements. It's a whole different tone, and just being around seniors that are just kind of living their lives and walking past a gym or walking past an art studio or the dining hall and just seeing people kind of carving out a new life and vibrant and making new friends. It's kind of inspiring, and you're like, and just having conversations. They're happy to talk to you.
Yeah.
Not everybody's running down the hallway and,
not life or death situation.
Yes, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice. So I would enjoy having those conversations, and they're always willing to have a conversation with you, which is nice.
We're going to talk more about it, but I just want to keep in mind the idea that it's a very pleasant place to be in these senior communities.
It is. It is.
Okay. So I know you've worked at several senior service organizations such as Arbor Company, A Place for Mom, and now the Delaney. What exactly is a community relations counselor?
Basically, spreading the word about the community. So the unique position with Delaney is we were a new building. I started working for them before the building was actually open, so kind of spreading the word that the community is going to be built and it exists. When people don't know about what the Delaney is, there were no other Delaneys in Morris County. We had another one in Bridgewater, so Morris County was not familiar with that brand. So really getting out to networking events, senior centers, local organizations like Alzheimer's Association, the Morris County Chamber. These have all been really key for making connections with other healthcare professionals and just spreading the word to the senior population that there's going to be a new community.
Yeah.
We do also something called Delaney Loves Local, which is working with places like the Food Bank or St. Hubert's to kind of tie in with the community to give back, whether it's fundraising or getting the residents involved with projects to benefit local organizations.
Oh, I keep hearing you say the word community, and it seems very positive to me when you say it. It feels good. Like, not only is the Delaney a community in and of itself where people are enjoying being there, but you're now connecting them to the larger community itself.
Yes.
People can do volunteer work or.
Yes, many of the people in our building are still very involved in the community, whether it's a church organization, historical society, the hospital. They've continued that volunteer purpose, and they've also carved out new things that they want to do now that they're retired and they can get involved in things, and we want to give them those things to get involved with if they choose to.
And part of the Delaney's mission, I guess, is to find resources like that for people to get involved in.
Yes, yes. So we actually do have people from the museum, people from Historical Society, people from the hospital, government, League of Women Voters, different things like that, that will come into the community to actually engage them in conversation and see if there's things that they might want to get involved in. Yeah.
I want to go.
You want to go? Come on.
Yeah,
come on.
You know, I've met I've met several individuals that are recently widowed, and they're resistant to leaving their homes that they've lived in for decades, even though their children really believe it's in the widow's best interest to downsize and be with other seniors for exactly what we've just been talking about, all this social interaction. But the widow doesn't want to go. So how would you counsel the widow and children and help them adjust, I guess, to this possible other lifestyle?
Well, usually the first stop is the kids, in most cases, are going to be the people who are kind of doing the reconnaissance or the fact-finding, saying that, you know, we would like this for our mother or father now that they're single again. And they don't want to leave their house, which I completely understand. This is where you raised your children. People, it's a very emotional decision. So the kids kind of are like, we want to get mom in here, but she doesn't want to go. So the first thing I think it's important is you have to not be telling that person what's best for them. They have to come to that decision on their own. They're still a person. They still have choices. And some people, that decision isn't immediate. It might take some time. I've had people who've called a year later saying now that they're mentally ready to do it. My job is really, when that person first comes in, is to just make them comfortable with the fact that they're even entertaining this and that they're going to a community. That would be finding out more about them as a person, what their interests are, what their profession was, what things are important to them, and maybe invite them back for an activity. We have a very vibrant activity schedule that it would be hard pressed for someone not to find something of interest to them, whether it's lectures, music, art. Invite them in for that. Why don't you just come in and mix and mingle with the community, because this has to feel comfortable for you. We're not making any decisions now. It's an afternoon. Maybe buddy them up with someone who's been there for a while. Maybe come for lunch or dinner, and just wrap your head around the concept without saying, Mom, you got to move.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be told what to do. This is still an independent person that wants to make their own decisions. So I think that the respect is the important part of that.
Right. Respect their resistance to move and work with that.
Correct.
And find out what their likes are and what would be the value of moving into a community rather than staying at home.
Right. Maybe set them up with somebody who has been in the same situation. We have support groups for caregivers. We have bereavement support groups, anxiety support groups, anything where people have come to that.
Really?
Just because it's a lot. You're talking about somebody who's had, a widow or widower, a huge loss that they're dealing with. Now you're telling them on top of that you have to move. We have people move from out of state that come, that lived in Florida with their spouse. Now they've lost that person, and you're asking them to move
up to with the adult children.
Correct. So you really, it's a process of getting them comfortable with this is going to be okay.
Yeah. So we talked about widowhood, but are there other circumstances where people are transitioning to community living? Sounds like to enhance their life.
Yeah, there's a lot of situations. Some people, the house is just too big for them. It's too much for me to handle. I can't do landscaping. It's the stairs are too much for me. The neighborhoods have changed. I used to know everybody on the block. Now I don't. It's a different world where people don't necessarily talk to their neighbors like in the old days. So now it's changed. You feel the isolation of I don't know anybody on my street anymore. Losing a spouse is another one. There's also a lot of caregivers that are burnt out taking care of their spouse. We're dealing with people with dementia, people who have physical needs that are not going to be conducive to living in a big house. Right. So there's a lot of different, a lot of things at play where you just, that it's not sustainable to live in a big home anymore.
That's a wonderful idea. I never even thought of it. So a couple who the spouse is suffering from dementia, and the other spouse doesn't want to be separated from that person. So they could both move to a place like the Delaney and get the care that the person suffering from dementia can get the right care for that person. They stay together.
We have many couples where one person lives in independent living and the other person lives in memory care. It's giving that person who's in independent living still the ability to relax from being a caregiver, have the socialization, have some friends, and then see their significant other whenever they want. If they want to go, there's no limitations how often you can visit that person, but to know that they're safe.
Yeah.
If you need to go out, if you want to, go to an activity and know that they're engaged and that they're well cared for.
Yeah.
We have that situation in the building and it's worked very well. They say you can't you're on an airplane, put on your mask before someone else's.
Yeah.
If that caregiver becomes ill and they can't take care of that person, what's going to happen?
Right.
So you really have to make sure self-care is really important when you're the caregiver.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's some statistic, I don't remember it exactly, but when people are suffering severely, really difficult dementia, other chronic diseases and things, it's the caregiver, the other spouse that really suffers a lot because they're giving everything to take care of this person. But if you have a senior community center like you have this, that both people can be taken care of well, can rest, everyone can have a better lifestyle, an enhanced life.
Caregiver burnout is a very big thing. For the children, for the spouse, it's, siblings. I've seen a lot of different scenarios. And, you just see that person can just take a break. They're going to be able to care better for that person and be there for that person more, knowing that, you've had that break and you can take care of yourself. I think it's really important.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.